It's the coldest it's been all friggin' year. Let's go.
There it is. This is bad news.
My God.
Falling out right now. Anything could happen.
Get on!
Wow. I'll watch the video later.
Ain't dry mopping this. Well, good evening and Happy New Year. I am Joey Only, your voice of Caribou weather. Here in Wells, British Columbia, 3,935 feet above sea level, here with all the good news. It is the coldest so far it's been this year. Of course, we're only one day into the year, but it's very, very cold in a lot of places. Well, here's some good news for you, although that's quite the storm going on out there in Atlantic Canada. There's a big warm-up coming for us in Western Canada right there. Bam, next week is going to see a change in the weather pattern. It's about supper time right now at the time of recording here, and I'll see when I can get this going for you all. So we can see this disturbance right now is basically pushing into Oregon and California through today, and some of that's going to start making its way into southern BC. Going to have, it's going to form itself a little more organized, like when it gets close there to Vancouver Island off the coast of Washington or so, and we'll look at that as the show goes on. So some snow into southern BC for the next couple days. So far, nothing screaming significant looking out of that mess there. No, this next big guy sure is meaty looking. It's probably aimed to hit somewhere up in Alaska in a number of days, and should bring at least to the coast significant precipitation and wind and whatnot. So we'll see about that. Here's our storm right now in eastern Canada that's going on. It's a fairly lovely looking low, and there's some lightning and things happening out there right now. I got that tropical convergence zone where you can see the thunderstorm lines are going there near equatorial parts of the world, and a very strong cyclone there off the coast of Europe. So it's early in the evening, but it's starting to get pretty cold down there. Well, not for you in southern BC. You're sitting lots of zeros and just aboves. Lucky for you. Not so lucky as you go up towards Monkman Station, up into the Peace. We're seeing some 26s and 27s. Most certainly it'll get much, much colder through the evening as we get down, and got a little bit of a cloud deck that's been kind of insulating us here in Wells. That's been nice. 20s through Saskatchewan right now. I'm sure we're going to see those temperatures drop through the evening. Up into the far north, we do have a 42 on the board. So at this station on the South Nahanni River, CXDK, we have minus 42 reading right now. So that's awesome for you. We got another 40 up there on the Arctic Ocean where you might expect to see one. And we got some 38s at Mayo. Very cold in the Yukon right now. Yukon been really, really sitting there in the 30s, just a touch colder than would be seasonal for you even. We even have 40s in America somewhere. Yes, and that's in Alaska at Beaver. There's a 40 in Beaver, and up here we got a 45 at Umiet. So some extremely, screamingly, exceedingly cold temperatures up there tonight. Coldest has been so far this friggin' year, man. So what do we have going on the battle board right now? Well, you can see a little bit of precipitation there making its way into the mountains in Oregon. Nothing for British Columbia right now on the bad news board, but we do have for this section of Alberta, wind chill values of minus 40 or colder are expected overnight and early Thursday morning. These extremely cold wind chill values may return for the overnight in Friday as well. Into the Friday morning period. So temperatures will moderate this weekend a little bit, it says. Yes, it will. And go up to the far north. And these are all going to be extreme colds up here. Yeah, you can almost bet it. Minus 50 at times up there. Ooh, yeah, and minus 50s. Oh, yeah, at Fort McPherson. Yeah, okay, that's stupidly cold. Blizzard warnings still continue in Nunavut, along a lot of these places. Blizzard conditions developed this morning in Baker Lake. They've spread into Rankin Inlet, Whale Cove, and Arviat this evening. Northerly winds gusting 70-90 kilometers an hour will give zero visibility and blowing snow. Wind chill values drop into minus 45 mark. This blizzard will taper off in most communities on Thursday. That is some ridiculous weather down to southern Ontario. Quite a bit of precip coming right off the lakes. And that's probably going to be giving us a snow squall warning once again through these parts of Ontario. 30 to 60 centimeters expected. Lake effect snow squalls off Huron will develop in a wake of low pressure system. Northwest winds gusting 60 can result in blowing snow. So what we still have is very, very warm lakes that are still, when the cold air comes over it, picking up and immediately depositing themselves onto shore. A repeat of what we've seen, 10 to 20 centimeters if we go further south and maybe less in southern Ontario. We do have a watch as well for areas north of Toronto like Orillia and Scugog and places like that. 20 to 45 centimeters might occur there by Friday morning. Beginning Thursday, continuing through Thursday night, additional snow squalls are possible. Out in Atlantic Canada, even a little bit of lightning off the coast right now. Looks like there's some pretty bad weather over Frankie there in Sydney, Nova Scotia area. So heavy precip there just off the far east tip of Nova Scotia. And lay sweat wind warning going on. Rainfall in the southern part of Newfoundland. And then over in Quebec, there, I turned the radar thing off because it was just slowing everything down too much. 20 to 35 millimeters going on there. Go more into Quebec itself. We do have a snowfall warning for you, 10 to 20 centimeters up through these areas in the south side of Quebec, up towards New Brunswick and out towards Gaspésie. We got a weather advisory there for blowing snow, things like that. And just south of Montreal, there's actually a couple real nice mountains out towards Sherbrooke there. 15 to 20 centimeters of snow expected for you there. So we had daily maximum record temperatures set in New Brunswick for 8 degrees and whatnot. This has been going on for a while. They've been setting high record temperatures there for quite a while. Same with Newfoundland, breaking all their old high temperatures. Nova Scotia seeing up to 12 degrees at Cheticamp. I'll have a look at where things are going to go. Watch that storm in the east. It's just going to swirl around for a little while there in on itself like a top. Off its axis, off its kilter. You can see how our storm that came through on Thursday brought a little bit of snow through southern BC for a day or two. Weak as it was, and some trailing, lingering moisture, precip, and stuff like that behind. A little bit of a break. Sometime early next week, we expect to see the Pacific train pound back into us, and that looks pretty meaty still. The models have seemed pretty stoked on saying next week will be stormy in BC once again. It's these garbage temperatures, though, man, that people who know me know that 30, I'm just not into it, and I like winter. I live in a winter place, and one thing I do like about Wells is that we generally get the Pacific weather as opposed to if, say, I settled in the Peace or somewhere east of here, right? So, for BC, maybe this is a cold place, and we do have long winters by Canadian standards in the mountains here. We don't tend to see too much of this. White. Oh, what does that white mean? It's like up to minus 40. That's what it's talking about. So I don't know. This I used to have this friend, and he at some point just decided to, that I wasn't conspiracy minded enough, and he became very attacking, and eventually I just blocked him, and now he's been like commenting. I've silenced him here as well, but he's like, don't panic. It's normal weather. He's saying. It's like, am I panicking? Has there ever been a time here that I'm actually panicking? There's been a few times when we've had like severe thunderstorm outbreaks. We've had wildfires where I've been like, hey, take this seriously, everybody. But no, like we're not panicking here. We're talking about the weather, dude. Stop being a fucking dick. Go find something else to do. Get over it. We're not friends anymore. Why are you still trolling me years later? It just doesn't make any sense. And you can see that weather breaking down. It doesn't seem to want to let go in this GFS model for Fort Nelson up there. So we're hoping that that will not be what ECMWF says for you. But look for the rest of us, Alberta, southern Saskatchewan, BC into next week, seeing a lot of above zero weather. Going to be great. And this cold now, where is it probably going to go as we go into later in the month? It does the eastern thing. It goes, we can explain the Coriolis force. We can explain why the weather moves the way it does. But essentially, you can expect it's going to go east. Because going east is what weather does here in BC and North America, I guess, in general, right? So there's a large storm off the east coast. We're going to get a look at how it moves in, seeing as we got kind of a quiet Wednesday night. Our snowfall we're expecting into BC going to take just a tad longer, and by tad longer, it's still coming Thursday, maybe just be a few hours later than our last forecast video was expecting. So we can still see coming into 6 a.m. it's starting to show up on the coast. It will show up on Thursday. Yes, it will. This will kind of organize itself into a bit of a Pacific storm. And yeah, real nice looking nor'easter happening out there with a clear atmospheric river straight into Newfoundland there. So you can see why they have some of those extreme heavy rainfall warnings for them. Things that, can cause complications in your life. So here we have in BC. We'll hit pause right now, and you can see we got our own tail here coming into Oregon. Maybe the time, maybe I'm being picky here about the timing, but yeah, more or less still sitting 28s in the north. Not nice. If you're in the Prince George region, you might be hovering around the contact point between where the real cold starts. So what does that mean? It means that cold could, in theory, visit you. Yeah, it could, in theory, visit you. So that's what we're watching for. And pay attention to where these isobars are, because they'll be telling you, where that high pressure 1043. They'll be telling you where that high pressure most established. So we see Thursday now into the evening, fairly widespread snow. Again, not a serious amount. As we were saying in the last episode yesterday, no, not a serious amount. Looks like the serious weather is really into Eastern Canada. They're getting it the most. And if we're talking about who's getting the heaviest precip in western side of the continent, that'd definitely be up through California, Portland, and maybe even Washington. You can see that's low kind of sitting there. So by the time we get to Friday morning, probably a little break for southern BC before that low begins to churn itself upwards again once again. It's way into southern BC. So we're looking at Friday, a secondary event. So that's maybe a bit of a change from last forecast here. It looks like maybe it's a more prolonged and maybe a little bit more snow. We could see some special weather statements. Yeah, it's not out of the question. We could see a couple snowfall warnings. But again, I don't think this is a big-time snowstorm story like we sometimes have. Look at that storm off the east coast there forming, all that lightning, crazy. And you can see this guy, like I said, just spinning like a top on himself. He's really just been going around for a couple days there. You might say that's the Fujiwara effect, right? Well, what's happening with our guy off here? A strong low established out in the Pacific off the Aleutian Islands, and it's really a delivery mechanism combined with the high that seems to always stay there off the California coast, more or less. That's helping to steer, again, all that Pacific unhappiness pretty much towards British Columbia. Yeah, pretty much. Look at this next nor'easter there already forming for you guys in the East Coast, and that's a deadly-looking storm, dropping fast. I'm not going to suggest bombogenesis or not, because I wasn't paying attention earlier at what it was and how long it's grown, but it looks like it's dropping fairly fast, fairly consistently. So maybe it will be considered bomb cyclone status this weekend. Nova Scotia, maybe Newfoundland, most certainly. Snowfall into Sunday in BC, mostly coastal, because that cold is still keeping us divided. We go later in the day on Sunday. Got that severe weather potential for the states I was talking about a few days ago. We were watching for tornado outbreaks down there. You got more than one tornado season in the United States, especially when this cold is coming down. This is a big trigger. This cold is coming down. You have this, and you can even see here the warm flow up from the Gulf of Mexico, and you get those two things together. Well, that's thunderstorm juice, right? That's severe thunderstorm juice. So that's sometimes why you see really spectacular tornado outbreaks at times of year that you wouldn't expect it, because in Canada we don't have that same possibility. We don't have that warm Gulf moisture to fuel a thunderstorm. We do sometimes see thunder snows. They aren't actually that uncommon. I've seen quite a few lightning storms that were snowstorms in my time. Usually they're in the middle of transitioning from a rainstorm into a snowstorm, because of the cold in behind. But yeah, that's sometimes it's just a straight up thunder snow have seen it. So fantastic. But we don't have that warm Gulf moisture there to just supercharge a thunderstorm. So when we get to like our storm season, which is in the summertime, we still have some of the cooler air from the north available to us, but we have warm air from the south coming to us as well. It's a much different story, right? So days and days of nastiness for the East Coast, it looks like. I wouldn't want to be driving a boat around out there. Looks like bad weather for shipping. And atmospheric river sometime from that large low we've been kind of talking about, hitting up into the Alaska Panhandle, probably going to spill some into northern BC at some point. So I'm sure everyone at Telegraph Creek and Terrace and places like that, this is a bunch of days out already. We're talking about next week by now. So there'll be some change in this forecasting, but let you know, looks like we have a pretty good atmospheric river set up for you there. And you can see how common it is. People say you're trying to use scare language. Well, what's so scary about atmosphere and river? And these are common setups you can see at any time on the globe. Number of these common shapes that, if they are continuing to flow into the same direction and dump their precipitation all into the same place, you can consider them atmospheric rivers. That's what they're doing. So I don't see why that's controversial. It's just a behavior of a mid-latitude cyclone, generally, especially in winter, fall months of the year, when you have cold weather in the north and you have warm weather in the south. Speaking of cold weather in the north, now we're going to have our last look of the day at the cold weather. Western Canada overnight tonight, Fort St. John down to 30. Prince George probably going to see 25, 26 even. I don't know, maybe. I hope not 30 for Prince George tonight. I hope not. Looks like here in the Caribou, we're going to get maybe lucky. We got a bit of an inversion going on, I'm pretty sure right now here in Wells, and that's what we could. Let's just stop for a second and have a peek at this. What is the actual reported temperature right now? 11, minus 11, and yeah, that's what my station says, 10.5 and 11 in Quesnel. So, but 18 in Prince George, 12 in Williams Lake. There's probably some inversion still going on out in the mountains right now. So even during the day on Tuesday, exceedingly cold through the shittiest parts of Canada. I'll call you that because you're the ones who have the shittiest weather. Personally, I take all this rain and puking and dumping and snow and wind. I love that stuff. I love the bad weather. Who's panicking? Why are people accusing me of panicking when I love bad weather? It's what I talk about. It's what I think about. It's what I'd minus 44 Friday morning up there in the north and get some wind chill going on. Yeah, so look at even northern BC, you're not really getting a break even during the day on Friday. Minus 30 Fort Nelson, 26 Fort St. John. I know you've had this plenty of times, but doesn't mean it's awesome. Doesn't mean anyone likes it. It's maybe part of a Canadian badge of honor to be tough about it. Yeah, well, I get it. I drive around the snow all the time here wearing a similar badge. 16 on Saturday in Prince George. So that cold air mass really pushing in, and we're just, hoping that, because we've been watching how we have storms coming through and whatnot, we'd really like to see some of this weather beat up against there a little bit more. That's what I'm hoping for. Hoping to see that this cold maybe even supercharges our next lows a little more than we're seeing in the models, and maybe that will help actually beat back the cold. So that would be ideal. Because that is what's going to happen eventually. We have those next bunch of storms coming for us next week, right? But still, mostly similar setup until you get to Sunday, at least. Then you start to see a breakdown in the prairies a little bit, but not for northern BC yet, no. This is ECMWF forecasting model. We were looking at the GFS on the other site. So the same models available on both sites. So just different kinds of maps. But looks like Monday morning, most of BC seeing that moderation, and hopefully for you up in the Peace, hopefully this is correct and not what the GFS was showing, and that you will get that nice benefit of that nice warm up. Imagine that 3 degrees next Tuesday after you've been minus 30 Fort Nelson. That's wild. It's pretty wild. And the Chinook will visit Alberta. You'll all be happy. It's going to be awesome. Everyone's going to be, dogs and cats will be playing together. It'll be beautiful, wonderful, all that cool. We'll go to Ontario, and all the awful people in Ontario will have to sit on all their piles of money and freeze. Well, that's the show for tonight. I better get back to editing. Okay, so yeah, okay. Well, hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Hope you check out the new film I put up there. Cut Off Creek, it's called. A little wildfire film. You know, you just take the phone out 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day and film for 30 seconds or a minute and a half, and it's amazing how much the footage adds up and then is able to someday tell a bit of a story about what life is like for you out there. So if you are curious about what firefighting life is like, I got lots of great videos on this channel from over, well, at least the last 4 seasons when I started about the same time I started making this channel. I said, well, I'll start filming everything too. You know, film everything I do. Why not? It's fun. Okay, well, that's what you get. You can see the next part of that already for members on the channel here. If you're a Buy Me a Coffee or Higher member, and if you wait another day or two, the third part I've now finished editing, and it will go up for members soon. That'll be ready in 2 weeks. So next week at this day, part 2. 2 weeks from today, part 3. Okay, that's the show for tonight. The Bad News Show. I'm Joey Only. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.